Hey guys, this is Bobby, and here's part 2. Now, in this part, I'd like to give my thoughts on the 36th Super Sentai Tokome Sentai Go Busters. Now, the series is about three young people named Hiromu, Yoko, and Ryuji, who 13 years prior to the start of the series were the only people to survive a horrific incident. A, a computer virus got exposed to a special energy source called Enetron, not only gained sentience, but took control of the giant Megazords, that worked for the company, and created an army of machines to try and ultimately conquer humanity on Christmas, on Christmas Day. Which, when one thinks about it, if it takes place 13 years prior, that means it happened in 1998. Which during that time it was Seiju Sentai Gingaman. It was around the time of Seiju Sentai Gingaman. Cheers. But anyway, so 13 years later, Vagless, I should mention, the virus became known as Messiah, and its forces became known as Vagless. But anyway, 13 years later, Vagless starts to make their move by draining some Enetron and having Messiah's minion Enter, who speaks a lot of French. Yeah, I should mention Enter looks human, but he has the ability to shoot like cable-like tendrils out of himself, and he keeps a laptop computer with him, and he uses these cards that when he hooks up like a cable up from the computer to an object. He takes the card, which has a metavirus on it, swipes it, and the virus is downloaded into the item, turning it into a monster. Meanwhile, back in subspace, I should have mentioned that Hiromu, Yoko, and Ryuji survived because were the only survivors because everyone else was transported into another dimension called subspace. One of those people being Hiromu's mom and dad, and Hiromu's dad had downloaded a special program like an antivirus program into Yoko, Ryuji, and Hiromu. Ryuji, who was 15 at the time, Yoko was was a little girl, just a toddler, 3 years old. Hiromu was 7. And the three of them, along with three sentient robots called Buddy Roids, Cheetah Nick, Gorisaki Banana, and Usada Lettuce, were able to escape from that dimension. And they spent the next 13 years training to prepare. I'm sorry about that. My brain's a little cluttered, and it's after 11 p.m. when I shot this part. Anyway, and of course, the Buddy Roids played. I should mention, play a very important role in the Go Busters fight. Anyway, but the antivirus program also gives the Go Busters special powers. Hiromu, since his partner Cheetah Nick, when one thinks about it, actually fits considering the Buddy Boys, but Hiromu's power allows him to move at superhuman speed so fast it's almost like he's teleporting. He can basically keep up with Kamen Rider Kabuto when he activates Clock Up. Sorry. Ryuji has superhuman strength. And so, Gorisaki is a gorilla, and Nick is a cheetah. I should mention, Nick can also turn into a motorcycle, and despite having GPS, has a horrible sense of direction. Anyway, and Yoko has the ability to jump incredibly high, and as a result, and just like a rabbit would in a way, but Usada is actually just a regular, like a robot with a rabbit head, and has wheels on the ends of his arms. And but anyway, Yoko and Hiromu grew up with him, but there's a downside. All three Rangers have a weak point. Hiromu, when he sees a chicken, maybe animated, a photo, or in real life, freezes up. And believe it or not, it happens at weird time. It's the most frequent. It happens frequently. But if he hears chicken, he's moving robotically. Yoko has to constantly keep her calorie count in check, which means her eating a lot of sweets in order to keep up her energy. And Ryuji, well, his weak point's also like a double-edged blade because it pertains to his strength. If he uses too much of it, he will overheat and to the point where he could go berserk. I'm talking about like Hulk smash everything in sight. And as a result, he ends up destroying. And well, it can be double-edged blade in terms for Vagilis because he destroys a couple of monsters. I won't say which, simply just by himself, using that weak point. Anyway, later on they are joined by Jin Masato and his own Buddy Roid, Beat J Stag, who is a Rhino Beetle, Stag Beetle motif Buddy Roid. But he's different from the other three in that he can actually assume a Ranger form. And with Jin, they become the gold and silver colored Beat and Stag Busters. And I should mention the Buster Machines, or Zords as I call them. They can assume they have a vehicle form, but they also have beast animal modes, and they can combine into various Megazord formations. And I should mention as I was meant to say earlier with Vagilis, when a Metaloid is created, its metavirus is downloaded into a blank Megadrone to give it some elements of the monster itself. And as a result, throughout a great number of times throughout Go Busters, we see the Rangers fighting both a regular-sized monster and the giant version. And this ends part 2. I'm going to explain a little more in the next part because this is going almost 7 minutes. Sorry about that.